Welcome back to Next Level Sax YouTube channel. Today, I'm super excited to share something truly special with you, a masterclass replay with the legendary Bob Sheppard. If you've ever wondered how the greats develop their sound, vocabulary, and voice on the horn, this is one you don't want to miss. In this session, Bob walks us through the exact practice strategies he's used for decades to build a flexible, expressive, and personal sound. He dives into how transcription and influence work together to shape your musical identity and how you can use those tools to expand your technique, vocabulary, and creative confidence. But this just isn't theory. Bob keeps it real, working directly with saxophonists in the audience, brave volunteers who help demonstrate how these ideas come to life in real time. It's interactive, it's inspiring, and it's packed with insights that you'll be thinking about for a long time. And because I want you to keep growing between videos, I've included a free bonus below. You can download Rhythm Changes, the ultimate guide, a 30-page deep dive into both traditional and modern vocabulary you can use over rhythm changes. Along with the PDF, you'll also get a 45-minute lesson video where I break down 2 full choruses of an original etude phrase by phrase. We'll explore concepts like tritone substitutions, Coltrane changes, altered pentatonics, triad pairs, melodic development, and more. You'll hear vocabulary inspired by Sonny Stitt, Coltrane, Bergonzi, Eric Alexander, and Walt Weiskopf. And I'll explain exactly how I'm using it. So grab your horn, download the free PDF and video, and learn with us. Trust me, you'll walk away from this Bob Sheppard masterclass inspired and ready to level up. Let's jump in.
When I do these kind of presentations or these clinics, I'm improvising. I don't have a bullet point. So I usually use the players here to kind of help direct the line of questioning and stuff to talk about. There's a lot to talk about, and we don't have enough time to do it all. It's infinite stuff to talk about, actually. As I got on the way, I've got more interested in the process of what we're doing. All the stuff, mechanics, but the process of what we're doing, to me, still is what is intriguing. That drives me to still do it, and that process is different for everybody. And I really kind of love figuring that. Everybody's in a different place. Everybody learns differently. Everyone has different influences. Different ideas of what you're supposed to do to be a player. It's just incredible. And then we have, academia, who gets a lot of money to teach kind of a curriculum of stuff that you have to do to be a jazz musician. And a lot of it's great. But it didn't arrive that way with any of it. That's the truth, right? There was none of this stuff, pedagogy and curriculums, and really that drove the idea of what we do with a saxophone, right? And I'm interested in that. So where to go with this? At first, I'm thinking about Tom was playing the chromatic scale. The chromatic scale, you got to play all scales, and you got to play them evenly. And you got to sort of use everything that we practice in the practice room is a tool. It's part of what we need to improvise, right? So, but there is a question of like taming the beast, the actual instrument itself, the mechanics of playing any instrument. You got to be able to get the notes out in time with a good sound and controlled way, and that's hard practice, right? Depending on where you are in your studies and pursuit. Older guys, it's a different. When I was studying classical clarinet when I was 10 years old, and that's kind of like clarinet's hard, so I was fortunate enough that my dad was a saxophone player, part-time guy, but he didn't teach me, but he sent me to a teacher. My school system was great back in Philly. There were band programs. We had Woody's band and Kenton's band. Every year we had a big band. There was a culture of of jazz, and there was a culture of concert music, and it was a really great environment to kind of learn how to play music. And I didn't realize it at the time, but there was just a shared fun factor with the guys in the jazz band, and there were gigs everywhere. I played gigs from the time I was in 10th grade, 11th grade. You could you get in a band, soul band or funk band, and go out and play. This was the kind of ecosystem that people in my generation certainly learned how to play, because you couldn't play well, right? But you're trying, and you could actually, listen to the music, play along with the music. That's how I learned how to play. Jazz was not something that I studied very much with any kind of teacher, or even in college. I was a legit clarinet player, and saxophone was kind of easy for me to play. It was like, yeah, man. And it's not easy, but clarinet, I had all this kind of the rudiments happening on the clarinet. And when you're young, you could do that stuff. It's like, it's harder to learn how to skateboard when you're 20 than it is when you're 12 or 14, right? It's just harder. Everything gets harder. So the mechanisms involved at a young age to do all these rudiments, you just did it as a kid because this is what you have to do, and you have to show up for the lesson the next day on the clarinet and do it, right? So all that being said, you still need all that. You still need it, and you can't practice it all. As Tom said, it's too much. So the idea of practicing is very personal, and I've gotten to this conclusion of like, well, I'm interested in how Jeff practices, Tom practices. If I was a fly on the wall in like 10 great saxophone players' studios, like, what do they do? What do they practice? Because it's not the same, right? And it's a fascinating thing in itself. Actually, if you're going to go to jazz school or any music school, I think there should be a year-long course in practicing. They don't ever teach that. It's the most important thing, actually, how to practice. But how to practice depends on you, what you know that you need to practice, right? So that's self-awareness and what is it that I can't do? That can be the guiding force, because you have to realize what you need to practice. If I give you this, and this to practice, and Tom gives you this, and whatever, and you go, okay, I'm going to practice stuff because somebody else told me, that may be helpful. But how I learned is just playing along with music, first of all. First, screw the long tones, screw the scales, put on some music that inspires you, that you hear, and you play along with it, right? And so what do you mean, play along with it? Oh, let's do it. Okay, so you guys, Tom.
Yeah.
So playing along with music is about training your ear, because if you're going to improvise, you have to have a direct connection between your ear and your fingers, right? That's relative pitch, right? You have to have instantaneous relative pitch. That means you hear a sound, you hear a tonality, you hear a melody. You have to kind of relate to it and know where that is. So how do you gain that? So there's no way to teach that except play along with music. So I tell people this because it's absolutely true. I was my sister was long gone. I was in the house all along with my parents, and they were fighting all the time. And the TV was at the kitchen table. A little portable TV. It was on all the time. It was like a family member back when I was a kid. Sad to say, but it was just on. And all the shows at that time, there were jazz writers. There was all the sitcoms, and there's music on the TV. they know, of course, played along with the stereo and records and stuff. But the TV, I would just sit there with my clarinet or my saxophone, my alto sax or something, and just sort of like find those melodies. Where are those notes? What's going on? So. Is it sharp or flat? Okay, good. Right. So this is what you need to do all the time. That's practice all the time, right? And that's fun. That's the whole idea of why we're doing this, right? Is like you hear something that you like and you go, oh, what is that? You're asking, oh, I'm going to play that. Oh, it's not right. Oh, you find it. Oh, there it is. Ah, is it sharp? Is it flat? Does it sound as like it's played? Does it sound close? Is it what is it about it that's cool? It's you're playing along with Gene Ammers or something, or a Stan. Right? You're hearing that and trying to copy that. That's how a baby learns to talk, by the way. It's the same shit. Right? Take a Chinese baby and fly him, a 5-month-old baby, and you move to Paris. In a few months, that baby's speaking French, right? Relating the sound to the object, the feeling to the sound, the expression. It's a language, right? It's exactly the same stuff. No one talks about that. I didn't know any of this stuff, but it's actually what it is, right? And that's the inspiration, because it's pointless to do any of this stuff without inspiration. That's why we're doing it. Because oh man, that's cool. What is it that inspires you? It's not just a thing that someone says you have to practice. No one cares, right? So I love to talk about this because it's like there's got to be a reason for you to pick up the horn every morning or whenever, right? To pick it up and play it, and enjoy getting the sound that inspires you, whether it be Mike Brecker or Sonny Rollins or Jeff Pfeiffer or Tom Lore, right? You need to have these sounds programmed into your ear, programmed into your head. So for something that you could do a direct A/B comparison to what you're going for. That's how it's done. You have to oh, that's this. How do you know? If you heard bird, right? Say here you're playing along and you hear that, right? That's an ism. That's a throwaway. It's a jazz-ism, right? Right? Yeah, you could get a book that maybe has that in it and say, okay, I'm gonna practice this week. No, it doesn't work that way. It's a thing that that's cool, right? I'm talking about this has happened in milliseconds. Right? Oh, that's cool. What is that? Right? And you might be playing along and you heard that, and then you latch on to that thing that maybe that ism, right? Now you can break it down in any way you want to do it, because that's the thing that drives us all nuts. I want to learn that little ism, right? But what is it? Wait. Yeah, what is it? What is it?
You're just doing like 3 chromatic passages.
It's chromatic.
Yep.
It's just chromatic. So yeah. So Tom was talking about practicing chromatic scale. Absolutely, you got to practice that chromatic scale. But this is a little tiny insight into like that, how that chromatic scale is a useful tool that's everywhere, right? It's not just the chromatic scale. Yeah, that's the basic function of what you're doing, but using that thing is everywhere. If you now when you listen to a sax solo, right, you're going to hear that now, right? So I'm going back in the Wayback Machine, right, and thinking about how I might have heard that while playing along with the music, and just say, oh, I'm going to keep doing that. And the music keeps going, right? There's time, there's whatever, funk, is swing, whatever, So if you're, we're in D minor, okay? So if like so that's D minor. Say it's like softly, right? So here's a chromatic shift. So that was basically the first date of softly, right? And so therein lies the fun part, right? So here's a tune that we all play. The structure exists. We know in this case it's pretty much C minor, it's 5/1 C minor. Then the melody is there in my head. So I'm always relating the tune to the melody. Melody, 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 melody.
Hey, real quick, I want to take a moment to shout out a product that's been a huge part of my saxophone journey for almost 2 decades now. That's Diodario Select Jazz Reeds. I've been playing on these reeds for years because they're reliable, consistent, and they give me the confidence to deliver whether I'm on stage, in the studio, or deep into one of those practice sessions. The Jazz Select unfiled reeds are in a class of their own. There's something about how they vibrate freely across the full range of the horn, from the low notes to the altissimo, that lets my sound come through with brilliance and clarity. You've probably heard me say this before, we don't really play the saxophone, we play the reed. And for me, Jazz Select is the only reed I trust to make the music that I like the way I hear it in my head. If you haven't checked them out already, give them a shot. Your sound will thank you.
Everything comes from the melody. Everything, right? So if you got... So there's a melody. So you got... Right? So you felt the 8-bar cadence, and you felt the melody's still there, but I played it a little bit, but then I went off of it, but I'm still thinking melody, and I'm trying to make a cohesive ideas within that framework, knowing the melody. And you could do this. You could do this with Happy Birthday, right? So you go. So everybody knows Happy Birthday. I always use it because, for obvious reasons, right? But if you recycle a tune that you know in your head, and Tom was saying about, well, you have it in your head. Pick tunes that you know in your head that you can sing. Maybe your mom used to sing when you were a baby, or church hymns or whatever. There's 50 tunes in your head at any given moment, if not 100, right? So you access those tunes and play them just as if you're in front of people. You practice doing that. So what if I came up with something that everyone knows? Oh yeah. What's that tune? When You Wish Upon a Star. We heard it all our lives, right? Every movie, every Disney movie. Long tone study, right? You're gonna. Okay, that's unacceptable, right? That does not sound good, right? You've heard that, and you know that, so, but through a melody, then you could practice it as a long tone. And so like when Tom was, that much, right? So if you hit a note, it's a. So I just played that intentionally, terribly. But when you're practicing a melody, it's really easy to know it doesn't sound good. If you're just playing like long tones, kind of without a reference, nothing wrong with it. But when you're playing a melody, it's really great because you can kind of tell it's not right, right? And then you got to go. Then you got to go. There it is. Right. So by hearing the fact that it was muffled or out of tune, right? Then you go, how do I correct that? Right. Now we can talk about how to correct that, and we will, in a short amount of time. But when it's about self-awareness when you're playing and what you're trying to go for. Right, so it's like this A B, right? You're playing along with Stan Getz, you're playing along with Sonny Stitt, whoever it is, you are trying to use that as a reference to model what they're doing, so you can get just like it, as close as you can get. Because by doing so, you are going to learn everything you need to learn, literally. Right? If you listen to if you listen to Cannonball playing Autumn Leaves on something else, right? You can learn everything you need to know about playing the saxophone by nailing that, by the way. Everything. It's all in there, right? About how to get a sound and how to move from one note to the other and how to swing and how to embellish a melody. Right? It's all there. That's where we learn it from. We don't learn it from curriculum, right? It could be very helpful getting in some ways, not putting it down, but it's reverse engineering. The music arrived from hearing it and being inspired and trying to figure out that language that you're hearing. And how you do that is absolutely fun and fascinating, right? And just so I hope that's a little synopsis of what I've come to realize is how I learned, and actually how anybody any good, even though they're great educators and they have all the educational background and all that stuff, people that can really play, right? They've kind of learned this way, right? That I think, and so. Any questions about that? So, my man, come on up. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom. Don't put your horn away. So I don't know what we're gonna do. All right.
Okay.
So just close your eyes. All right. Play what I play.
Okay.
Good. So, all right. So this is hard. This is not fun because you're on the spot here. All right. Very good. So what I'm trying to do is to get you out of your head
Yeah.
of like, oh, I'm gonna suck. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna. There's a this process that we all have, by the way, even me and even Michael Brecker and it's your internal process of is very based on how you think about yourself and what you're trying to do. This is something no one talks about, very little, because it's not shared. Because we're all fearful of sucking, right? And which is a good thing because that fear makes us want to practice and get better. But you have to suck. It's essential for you to suck, and and because by doing so, right? So what you just did is an example of the process of listening to music and hearing the sound and then trying to replicate that, right? And failing at it. Oh no, it's like, so you're teaching yourself about this idea of relative pitch. We have to have relative pitch. You can't just play stuff without hearing it. And we're jazz musicians, right? We're improvisers. We're making new melodies. We're not just playing stuff we practiced. We practice so we have the tools be able to improvise any melodies. And these are complicated melodies or simple melodies. It's all melodies, right? So the idea of doing this is about making mistakes. You could try to find tracks. Now with a couple of clicks of a mouse, you could find tracks that are slower and easier. You could play along with. Don't just play along with jazz. It's a lot of jazz is hard. Or find jazz stuff like the blues stuff and stuff that's slow enough that you can play with. Play along with standard playing along with Frank Sinatra, playing along with Natalie Cole. These are Count Basie. You learn a lot by playing the melody along with Count Basie and making it learn to swing. You play that lick. You can't just jump in because there's already time established, right? You got the time established. You got the drum genius on. You got your metronome on, whatever, right? There's everybody. da 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 da. Hey, bravo. Thank you for helping. All right, so we just made something up out of the blue to have fun practicing on a tonality. What tonality was that, my man?
What tonality?
Yeah, what was it?
Was that like a G blues?
Yeah, G blues, G7, right? So you could that's practice. You could set up a little loop if you want, or just in your head, the metronome. And what if you were to get comfortable playing blues licks like that on a groove? Starts to feel comfortable. Could do all your scalar stuff that we need to do, the thirds, the crown. You could use it all and try to make some music happening within that. And then, I'm going to change key, going up a half step. So then all of a sudden it's like, that's harder. That's harder. Right. So now this is fun. You're exploring the range of what you're able to do. That same scale, that same A flat minor scale, A flat minor pentatonic, all the arpeggios in that key. Oh man, I'm gonna stick in that key until I'm able to get that going, right? And then you change key and change key. It's fun, and that sort of zones in all your practice regimen into music, making something happen within the context of making music. Is that making sense? You can make this shit up. There's no one going to tell you to do this, this, and this, right? And it comes from if you were listening to a Chris Potter track and it was in a key of A flat, right? And so, well, man, it might come from that, or it might come from like listening to James. Playing along with, I used to practice all my diatonic seventh chords and scales along with James Brown. Right? It's like, how much fun is that? What a drum machine is that? And then if you want, you can change the key, and of course, if you have that app, right? So practicing is creative, and you can guide it by being aware of what you need to practice, right? There's not one way, there's not a linear way to get it. That's the kind of fun thing about it. If you ask 100 different great jazz players, there'll be 100 different answers, right? So anyway, so that's one thing. It's like picking up the horn and having fun with it. The idea of long tones, of course, we're all told these pat things like long tones, scales, and arpeggios, right? Oh yeah, we got to play those. I'm going to practice those in all 12 keys. Well, it's a huge thing, like how to practice those. right? So Tom was talking about just say, let's take the chromatic scale, for example, okay? So, once you're playing it smoothly top to bottom, well, then jazz is about math. It's about archaeology, because we have to explore the music that's already been done and find our area of archaeology that's really interesting, whether it be Egyptian pyramids or Babylonian archaeology, whatever. But we have to go, well, what kind of players interest me? What is the music that really does it for me? But within like finding stuff that interests you, it's all about, it's not what I tell you to do, it's about what interests you, because that is important to be able to go ahead and practice stuff, right? I think you could be doing all kinds of stuff during the day. There's a lot to do, right? But there's a reason. And I won't talk about all that, like the psychology or the of why you're playing this instrument, right? Why it's so important to you to check out these videos and get all the pedagogy and all that. So, like, what do you want to do with it, right? Is it just fun to do with it? That's fine. That's great. Or are you in a band? Or do you want to play in a band? Do you want to do gigs? For me, I've been a very lucky person that I've been able to play music my entire life. And it's kind of worked out that I was able to do a lot of different things. I could wear a lot of hats. I could make a living playing music because I played gigs my entire life. So like I would go on a gig and go, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing here. There was bands everywhere. There was gigs everywhere because they needed musicians. There was no other way to get music, right? So that lucky for me, that was how the experience that a lot of us had is learning what we needed to learn to make the gig, to do the gig, because you want to get called back, right? You want the gig. You want to keep doing it. Hey, man, this is fun, and actually can make some money, right? Not a lot, but usually, but anyway, the ecosystem of music was one in which drove my interest in it, because by doing it and going, holy cow, this is fun, I wanted to pick up the horn and the next day and said, man, I'm gonna get better, like doing this. So I think I could do this. I want to get better. And then you would get a chance to go try it out, what you're practicing, and then going, oh man, I wasn't good at that. The reason why I figured out a lot of stuff about equipment over the years is because I did so many gigs, and some equipment worked better for certain gigs, right? And if I did a Broadway pit gig and I had a 9-star link on with a 3.5 reed on, it wasn't going to make it. I wouldn't be able to go. Right. So the equipment needs to work for what the gig is. So that's how I learned a lot about what works. Right? So equipment, I know a lot about it, but it's just a tool. Right? It's not, as long as you have something that works well, so you could, and you like the way it sounds. And we could talk about equipment, but that's time consuming and stuff. So, but the idea of failing by playing music and then failing, meaning like, oh, that sucked, what do I do? You have to simulate that environment that I was talking about that I did, right? You have to simulate that. And there's ways to do that, right? Because we have, play-alongs. We have all kinds of stuff online. And in your head, tunes. And when you practice, and this is what I brought this along, because this is it's just an old tune list that I printed out a long time ago, that I'll throw a dart. And okay, I'm going to play that tune. and pretend I'm on stage playing that tune and make it sound good, right? And not stop. Can't stop. I'm gonna screw up because I can't remember tune that well, but I'm gonna keep cycling that tune and try to access that part of my memory of one of these tunes, right? That's what we have to do. You can't have all music in your head at any given moment, but you were going to access the stuff that Tom mentioned this, like that you already know, right? Play those tunes. So if you're going to play a tune, play Somewhere Over the Rainbow. That doesn't matter. Yeah, so beautiful, right? So I don't know if you played it before. Okay, but you're accessing the tune. You know the tune, right? And I guarantee you, if you keep playing that tune, you'll play it differently. You'll embellish it differently. You'll play different notes, different rhythms, because that's the jazz ethos, right? It's never play the same thing once, right? So, and then you change the key. Then you change the key. Then you change the key. You know, that's good practice, right? It's a kind of obvious thing, right? But that's practice, because you're challenging your ear to get your horn to sound pretty on a tune that you know, right? So these are other things to think about in your practice routine, because you want to make it enjoyable, or else you want, I'll do a lot of other things, no, it's got to be enjoyable, right? So, all right, so that's kind of some of what I like to try to inspire people to think about practicing in these, accessing the music they already know, trying to relate what they hear on their horn, so you learn how to play in tune. When you're playing along with the tracks, you got to play along. You got to notice if you're in tune or not. You cannot play out of tune, period. You're a musician, you have to play in tune, right? So you got to play in tune. How do you do that? Well, you got to be self-aware. Am I sharp? Am I flat? What am I doing? How am I doing that? Maybe my mouthpiece is not helping me. It's possible. Certainly the reed. The reed is the thing, the number one thing that makes your sound, right? That's what vibrates, right? So is it important? I think it is. Because if you have a reed that doesn't function well on your mouthpiece, really optimally vibrate with the opening of your mouthpiece, blah, 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 you're going to change things here to make that reed respond, right? So to get the reed to respond, you're going to do everything you can to get it to respond, and thusly could cause you to create bad habits, let's say, right? So this happens a lot. I've been teaching for a long time, and I have students that come in every semester, and they have a myriad of problems, and usually they're playing way too tight, right? Way too tight. And some of this is based on classical training. And, the air conditioner. The classical approach to saxophone is not helpful for jazz players, right? And then I love love classical saxophone and playing music, but a lot of classical teachers are very ideological about making a sound and their equipment and everything, and the kids really don't want to do that. They want to play jazz. They hear Eric Marienthal, they hear Mike Brecker, they hear whatever, a myriad of people that I want to do that, right? And they've been taught to play, right? Like they're clamping down here, right? Because when you roll over, right, and then you do that, right? It's like it drives me crazy because that approach starts a chain reaction of things that are hard to break, right? So loose, get to read the vibrate, and if you listen to players that have robust sound. I remember driving in the car when I was, 12, 13 years old with my dad, and on the radio they had instrumentals. They had all kinds of music on the radio, on the AM radio, right? And there was Boots Randolph. I'll never forget it. He went, right here. So it was a hit. It was a huge hit. Shadow of Your Smile. But it was like the sound was like, all this beautiful subtone, right? And I go, wow. I remember going home and getting my horn out. So, how does he do that, right? Right? So I figured out how to do that. Oh, man, that's like, it's really, my jaw's way down, right? It takes a lot of air to play subtone, but it's soft, but it takes more air to play subtone. You got to keep the reed vibrating to play soft, right? So actually counterintuitive what you think, right? So air is very important, like a whole nother topic for another day. But what I realized, that's how to play the saxophone. Because if you play loose, right? So when I pick up, I also play the chromatic scale. When I pick up the horn, if I could do that, I'm doing things right. Right? If you're playing with too tight, you can't do that. Right? So I come from soft. Learn to control the horn softly, because that's harder than playing loud, right? And so if your equipment doesn't let you do that, then you might consider, well, is the reed too hard? Is the mouthpiece not quite there for me? These questions come about when you can't do things that you hear that you want to do, right? So be able to go. So, you could, how do you, I was thinking when Tom was talking about the chromatic scale. Okay, so like, all right, it's chromatic scale, right? So moving these intervals around the horn is how I practice a lot, right? I'll just take an interval and then break it down in different ways. I'm not exactly sure. Sometimes I'll write it down. I brought these along because I've had these for years, these little notepads. Sometimes like a student will come in, or they'll come in and play a cool lick, pattern. Right? Oh, that was nice. What was that? Yeah, I like that. And I'll write it down so I can remind myself. Now, all jazz musicians have these notebooks in different ways. Tom Harrell has his whole floor covered with like hundreds of notebooks, right? He hears something, write it down. That's like, this is what we do. This is the research, right? So the thing about moving intervals around, we're trying to make melodies, and to make melodies and be free, we need to learn intervals. We have to move freely on the horn, and all music is intervals. That's the math. It's all intervals. Right. So chromatic scales, obviously, one of many, But how are you going to break that down? You could now you could get into like, okay, I'm going to have 1 or 2 or 3 intervallic things that I'm working on this week, right? And it doesn't matter what they are, by the way. It doesn't matter what you practice. It only matters how you practice it. It doesn't matter. There's too much. It's infinite stuff to practice, right? So if you practice one thing really great, so it's clean and burning by the end of the week, that filters into everything else that you play. Because I think, what do you think, Tom? It's just kind of like, if you do one thing really well, then everything else feels better.
Yeah.
Right? But how to do something really well is tedious, right? And you can't do this tedious thing all day long because you'll drive yourself crazy. It won't inspire you to keep doing it. Most importantly, you want to be inspired and feel the progress on something. So how, so I don't know, chromatic scale. So there's a minor third with a chromatic move in it, right? That's harder. But I found that a long time ago. I think Rob Lockhart had, not that one. He had, so that's a complex series of that pattern, and that pattern moves up. You wouldn't start with that, right? But that's really, it hit me. Somewhere it's here. Right. So, oh man, that's hard. I want to work on that. Right. And every time I picked up the horn, I got to that. Right. And I worked, of course, over the break. And it starts again. Oh, that's it. I can do it. Whole step. Yeah, I forgot it. I have to go home and review that one. But I just liked it because it was hard, right? And it really was something that appealed to me. It doesn't matter, you don't have to do that. But I realized by doing that, it helped me move around the horn in a different way, right? So if you're going to right, so I try to stick it in the tune. That wasn't very good, but maybe parts of it. There's a minor third in there, there's a whole step in there, and there's a chromatic thing in there, right? So what I was just doing here is practicing in front of you, right? I took a tune, and I go, I'm going to try to use this thing I've been practicing all week. It's starting to feel good, right? And I'm going to insert it in something that I already know, right? And see how it works. And you're going to fail doing it. It doesn't matter because you know the tune. You keep the form together. So what you're doing is like I know we've all experienced, you're going, you hear a word, and it's a new word, and you like the word. It's a good word, right? You go, that's a good word. Right? And I'm gonna use that word. And then next time you're in a conversation, you actually go, okay, I'm gonna use that word. And then you try to use that word, and it's just totally uncomfortable. You just feel like you're just like, man, that was really lame, right? Especially in a foreign language, right? It happens a lot, but you try to communicate in a foreign language. But you try it again. And a third, fourth, fifth time you use that word, you got it. You're not thinking about that word anymore. It's just part of your lexicon of that stuff. This is the kind of same thing. You got to kind of inculcate this in your neuromuscular memory, practice it in a way that is under control, and then you're going to use it in a tune that you know, right? To me, this is, no one ever taught me any of this stuff, by the way. I had very, very little jazz study. I'm not proud of it. It's just, for me, that's just the way, it was just playing gigs and then doing what we're talking about here is how I practiced, right? So I'm just relating to you my experience of how I practiced. And I didn't know this stuff. I'm communicating it to you after the fact because it was just stuff I did that seemed to inspire me and kind of work for me, you know. So I'm relaying my experience of practicing jazz from my organic way that I kind of experienced it, right? From trying it out and failing and like trying to pick things off. Transcription, extremely important. But I was never a guy that to transcribe on paper a lot. I did that a little bit, especially in college. But transcribing by ear, right? So I'd just play along, and there would be if there was a lick, I heard that. Or not. That's complicated. It's like so you're playing along with Hank Mobley, and he's going. Maybe that, right? Just a little short 2/5 on A minor D, right? Even simpler. So you might have heard that, and you go, "Oh, I like that. I'm going to practice that." Cool. You might write it down just to remember it for next time. But how you're going to practice that is interesting, right? So there's all kinds of stuff about that lick, about any music that. Well, how did Hank play it? Is it, or is it? Same notes, same lick, and maybe he had a the way he's playing it has a tongue in there, a do-tongue. It's not quite right. I'm going to get that do-tongue in there. Okay, then. Harder, right? Maybe dramatic like that. That could be one thing. Just one little lick that you were inspired enough to go, oh, that's. I hear that everywhere. I'm gonna learn that, right? You decide, but how you practice it could be a lot of different ways, right? You could have a practice routine that has rudiments, but you could have like one or two of these kind of 2/5 patterns. You could have intervallic pattern. What's an interval? Play an intervallic pattern for me, my man. Yeah, anything that you're practicing right now. What are you practicing? Okay, nice. But that's kind of scalular, right? And that's good, right? And to get that was very nice, by the way. But like a lick, like an intervallic. Now, what would an intervallic pattern mean to any of you?
Skips notes.
Could be two notes. An interval could be anything: minor third, fourth, fifth, sixth, augmented fifth, right? So we have to move these intervals around the horn. So that could be something that you'd say you're going to do minor thirds. So I'm going to play a minor third, right? So what? All right. So I'm going to take that minor third, and this is something that I do a lot because it really kind of defines whether I could play around this stuff around the horn, which is like always a struggle. So, if I had a minor third, So I'm playing it chromatically. Okay, so around the horn, that's hard. And then a jazz musician goes, what else can I do with it? What else can I do with it?
Full steps.
Reverse it. It's always harder to break, right? So I'm practicing in front of you. I'm noticing the little discrepancy, and then I'm going back and playing it slower, and then I'm going to incorporate it. Now I'm breaking it down in different ways, right? Right? Math. It's just math. So now the same minor third. I'm reversing them, right? We all play that. It's chromatic. Once again, chromatic, but we're taking an interval and interpolating that interval around the horn. That could be something that you work just that. Is it important to get the minor third? Yeah, it's just one of hundreds or 1,000 ways to do it. But for the jazz mind, the jazz mind wants to take an interval and get it together and then figure out a different way to do it. So I just reversed it. Direction, I reversed the interval. Now I'm going to flip it this way. Go chromatically. Now it's getting cool, right? It's harder. And notice I'm using the bis key all the time. Bis key. Got to use the bis key. Put a cork underneath your and disengage that sucker. You don't need it. Now, it's hard, right? So you got the metronome on. I might repeat it, right? All right, so then you got it kind of under your fingers, right? Then you got the metronome on. You could have a nice little funk shuffle beat or something, right? So you got a tonality maybe to relate to. Right now, I'm just kind of inserting it in a groove, trying to use it musically, right? You're just trying to get free with it now, right? Make music out of that exercise. So now you're bridging the exercise with functionality of using it, right? So this is kind of stuff that I'm just throwing out there really fast today to give you ideas what I do to practice, right? And it kind of challenges my technique, and it also challenges my creativity of trying to use it in a real practical way on the tune, right? So, questions? Anything? We're running out of time, I assume.
We're doing well. The only thing I'm concerned about is the camera overheating.
Well, any quick questions, you guys, about your own issues, about not with your wife or
How deep you want to go?
anything come to mind that we could address? Come on.
As far as learning standards, we've all heard the standard way of go through changes. As far as incorporating it, go through the changes, just the roots, and then thirds, and then you can arpeggiate and all that kind of stuff. Anything to add into or change that or to make it more effective?
Uh, it's a very common question because we're told that we're all told that we have to learn standards, and yes, we do. But when I was told that, it's because we knew that if we learned standards and played them well, we could get work, right? It was part of like what we had to do. If you knew a lot of tunes, you could work, right? So that's not necessarily the case now. But the reason why standards are so important to learn, not only is these tunes are like rich, beautiful tunes that teach us the history of how these tunes are played based on recordings. And the harmonic motion, the harmonic movement is jazz, right? How to negotiate the harmony on a standard tune is what we're trying to do. So yes, you're right. There's a whole day of talking about how to learn a standard, right? So if you had a standard that you were interested in learning, so what would be the first thing I would do is like look at a recording, get some recordings of it, of some maybe an alto player that you love, see how they play it, right? Play along with it, learn the tune by ear. Not because you got the real book and you're going to do the arpeggios and up and down until you get the arpeggio. That's okay, to be able to kind of build chords on your instrument is important. You have to do that, but you're never going to do that ultimately when you're playing a solo. No one wants to hear that, right? You're trying to make new melodies. So that do you play piano?
Yeah, a little bit, enough to do chords.
Chords. That's all you need to do. So get that tune and start out with tunes that aren't so hard, right? And play the chords just to get the idea of where the root movement's going, and to get the sound of these chords, how they move. Even if it's out of time, you're just gonna play along with play the piano, maybe the root on the bottom and the melody, and just fill in the chord. And I remember doing that, not with any idea of like what I was doing, but I had, if it was misty, right? So, I would play that first 8 bars. Da-na-na. And fill in. From the melody, I'm filling in the chord underneath the melody. That's the way to do it, I think. Mm-hmm. So you got a tune that you really know. There's the chord, right? There's the C minor. I'm hitting the melody and then filling in the chord from the melody note, right? So that's really good way to approach learning a tune, from the melody, right? It's like but learning tunes is one of like every topic is a huge topic, right? So how do you learn tunes? If you could say, well, you go through the tunes with the scales, the chord scale, arpeggio. Never helped me that much, really, to do that. It was a good exercise, must say, and I guess you should be able to do that. But to me, it was like connecting the cool notes. Like the music comes from embellishing melodies, right? It's about taking a melody I just did surround notes on the melody, right? You can hear that, right? Now here's a nice little 2/5, right? Right, there's a place you could take one of those 2/5 licks that you transcribe from Hang Mobley or Dex, right, and stick it in, right? Okay, I hope this is helpful.
It's amazing. Bob, it's truly a pleasure. I mean,
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
These kind of things are really fun, and we should. I love the fact that saxophone players are out there. I want to get together and.
well, yeah, that's
and
what I
do
was
this,
saying
you know?
earlier this morning before we started, that it's all about building community, because once you're out of school, or especially if that's what you did in school, there's usually a huge drop off in the consistency factor of playing in ensembles and being around those types of people. So it's really important that you have to build that community around you, seek that community out. And so the more that we can do this type of thing, and of course play together, the better, because it's just not from how I understand it, it's not the same as it used to be many, many years ago, when there was just a lot more opportunities. So it's even more important now.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly. You have to create the environment again to play. Because that means I have a student. He's a guy a little younger than myself. He's a corporate guy, and he always played the sax, and he always wanted to study, and blah blah blah. And and he's got a lot better. And I said, man, you don't need to study with me. You just go down the Union and find some players, pay them $50 to play with you for a couple hours on a weekly basis, and create that. And he goes, that's the best thing that I ever did, right? Because you got to do it.
Yeah.
You can't just sit around thinking you're gonna play music without playing it, right? So you're right. Everything's changed, right? The gigs aren't there anymore, very few, and but you still got to do the same stuff, right? So you got to recreate that in some way, either on your computer or with your friends at home. Play. Get another saxophone player, get another, any instrument. Hey, come on, let's play some tunes together. Play together, play music, right? And that's what inspires you to keep doing it. Because it's by yourself. It's like, well, what's the point, man? It's like trying to play tennis by yourself, That's like, that's not that much fun. Well, thank you, Jeff.
Thank
and
you,
thank
Bob.
you, everybody, for coming.
I hope you got as much out of that masterclass with Bob Sheppard as I did. Seriously, so many gems in that one. His approach to practice, transcription, and musical development is a perfect example of what it really means to find your own sound and voice on the saxophone. If this video sparked something in you, drop a comment below and let me know what resonated most. And if you haven't already, make sure you grab your free copy of Rhythm Changes, the Ultimate Guide, in the video description. The companion video is there too, totally free and designed to help you build confidence and vocabulary over one of the most essential progressions in jazz. If you're enjoying this content, hit the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and share it with your saxophone friends. It helps a ton, and it keeps the Next Level Sax community growing. All right, that's it for me. Time to hit the shed. Thanks for watching, and happy practicing.